Are you interested in real estate investing but not quite sure where to get started? Do you want to get the know-hows on creating ongoing passive income using the buy and hold strategy? Hi, I'm Janice Bowles, licensed realtor and co-founder of B Premier Ventures, a real estate development and consulting firm where we buy and beautify distressed real estate, renovate it, and resell for profit. With over 15 years of investing experience, B Premier has extensive knowledge in rural land development, fix and flips, and rental acquisitions. B Premier's current portfolio consists of properties within Florida and Virginia. Our firm's services includes investor project consulting, project management, and group coaching. For more information, visit our website at bpremierventures.com and schedule a complimentary discovery session or subscribe to our email list. It's free. Follow me on Instagram at Janice Bowles for additional real estate investing tips. B Premier Ventures, we buy and beautify.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of Let's Do It Talk Show. It's your girl, Ladrine Howard Peterson, the CEO and founder of Do It. And you know what I do in a nutshell, right? I help to turn dreamers into doers, and I do it from two aspects. I do it from the aspect of career development, resume writing, interview preparation. You're looking to switch jobs, you're having a problem on your job. I am your girl. And then I also do it from a business aspect. If you're looking to start a business, if you are looking to extend your business, branding, marketing, all the likes, I am your girl. Here at the Let's Do It Talk Show, we were primarily created for entrepreneurs, right? Quickly, we realized that the entrepreneur is an entire person. So we talk about faith, we talk about finances, we talk about the future, and we talk about families and relationships. So today's topic is on the men. We are continuing a three-part series, which was Grieve, Heal, and Mend. So today is all about mending with the subtitle, Give Yourself Permission to Live Again. So, you know what I do before I jump into the show, right? I talk about my weekend. My weekend was phenomenal. I had the opportunity to spend some time with my apples, and as you'll see on the video, we were at Bolero, and it was amazing. It was my first time ever going. I went to a meetup for prayer, and with a prayer group, and it was so much fun. I'm not a huge bowler, but I had a good bowling night that night, and the boys loved it. It's so many games, so many activities. So if you're looking for something for your family to do, a place for the kids as well as the adults, that is a fantastic place. Huge shout out to Cassandra. She was celebrating her birthday on that date. Yolanda and Yolanda's baby girl. Haven't seen her in a minute. And just a couple pictures with my apples. Then, oh my God, today is my mother's heavenly birthday. My daughters and I went to Martha's table to volunteer. Our assignment today was a little bit different. We helped to place orders for clothes. People call in. The store. It looks unorganized, but it's some really, really nice things there. And we got to shop for a couple people and then sort them out. That was funny because it was an old pair of Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. Anyway, my journal comes out, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And of course, man, rest in peace, Mommy. Everything I did today was in the likes of my mother, making sure I honor her, ate her favorite food, all the likes of it. So the girls and I had a really, really, really good time. So as I mentioned, today's episode is about mending. And my special guest, she is no stranger to the show anymore. She is my friend as well as the co-pastor. And I'm going to read a little bit of her bio. A patchwork quilt of unexpected but appreciated life experiences is how Davida Stewart describes her life. She was born in Tennessee, spent her formative years in Michigan, and her 10 years in California. Longing to be reunited with her childhood friends from Detroit, she went east to attend college. After returning to California in '88, she was cast as a student on the iconic Cosby Show spinoff, A Different World. For the past 18 years, Davida has served as co-pastor of Body of Christ Church in Waldorf, Maryland, alongside her husband, senior pastor Kenneth Stewart. Davida is committed to serving her community through various outreach and volunteer efforts. And they do a whole number of things through their church and under her leadership as well, too many to name. Davida established BOCC Women of Ministry and Book Study. And in 2015, Davida was a recipient of the Kathy Hughes Radio 1 First Ladies Tea Award. She's a member of Women of Action Charles County, served on the board of the Community Foundation of Southern Maryland, and volunteers at Lifestyles of Maryland. In June of 2012, her God-given vision became a reality. Her family opened the doors of Homework Headquarters Incorporated, an affordable before and after school homework center. Davida is currently the program coordinator for the Small Business Development Center Southern Region, located on the campus of the College of Southern Maryland. And she adores her family. How are you, co-pastor? Check your mic.
Sorry. I'm well. How are you?
I am well. I am well. Always great to see you. No different than tonight. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful seeing you.
Good to see you as well, and thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it. And like you said, I'm not a stranger to the show, though. I feel like I spend my Monday nights with you frequently.
Absolutely, absolutely. But is this your third time being on the show?
Yes, but I attend weekly.
I know that. I know. Faithfully and comment, not only attend, and I truly appreciate that. So we have been in this series, right? Grief. Reverend Smith came on, talked about grief. Last week we talked about heal with Reverend Rice, and then today we're talking about mending.
Right.
So with the whole inception and thinking through the process, those are various processes that people go through. So I thought it was important to add men to the topic. Grief and healing were two things that I talked about from the inception of my show. But moving through my actual process and going through what I've been going through, I think like the very part of mending is crucial for people to understand and actually get that feeling and get into that mindset. So one of the things that we mentioned last week, and we know and understand it, that healing stems from wound or from hurt, right? While healing and mending are often used interchangeably, healing is to make things better than the current state, right? And mending is more associated with fixing and repairing things, if you will. And so let's start there and then transition, right? So grief comes in different forms. We know that. Healing comes in different forms. We know that. So while it's overly challenging to find the strength to like figure out all of these things, we talk about mending. Right. So let's jump right into it. When you hear the word mending, what thoughts come to your mind?
And you just said it: repairing, fixing, regenerating, restoring. And for me, when I think about mending, I also think about the other side of mending, and that is the cut or the hurt or what caused the situation to be necessary to be mended. So so just repairing, fixing, regenerating, and restoring is what comes to mind when I think about mending.
Yep, absolutely, and you hit it right on the nail. Because as we go through these various things, we have to go through components, but that mending piece of it, like we want to be repaired because we get heartbroken. We want our heart to be repaired. So love the thinking and the transition of how all three of the things align together. So in the foreword of our book, we all grieve differently. One of the things that you said that really stood out to me and is one of my favorite is that grief is a chameleon. And while we think about that from grief, I think that we can change the word grief and say healing is also a chameleon. So when we talk about mending, how do you feel in terms of that? I think that mending fits into the place as well. So from your standpoint, what are your thoughts around that? How do you think that? Do you think that mending fits into that as well?
Absolutely. And when I was spending time with the Lord before writing the foreword, He reminded me that we are all uniquely created. No two people are the same, nor are the relationships that we have with the different people in our lives. So, in my opinion, when we lose someone, depending on where we are in that journey with them, could determine how we deal with the loss. For example, my childhood friend and I both lost our fathers during the past few years. She was very close to her father. He was a prominent figure in Detroit. They spoke regularly. They had lunch together on Wednesdays, and he was very involved in her son's lives. And so she said that his loss rather, left a gash in her heart. And so my father and I weren't that close. He was also a prominent figure, but a prominent figure in basketball. We spoke a handful of times each year just to check in with each other, and I'm not even certain that he knew my daughter's names. So the two situations were similar, but I believe she mourned the loss of what was, and I mourned the loss of what never was. And so I like to use the analogy of porcelain cups. So if you have two porcelain cups, you're holding them in your hand. If you drop them at the same time from the same height, at the same velocity onto the concrete floor, they're both going to shatter, but not in the same way. One may shatter into 10 pieces and the other one may shatter into 100 pieces. They can both be mended, but one will take more time, more energy, and more work to be mended. And you might not find all the pieces of the cup, so you'll have to use a filler to make it whole and usable again. So it's the same with us. What it takes to mend the pieces of one person's broken heart may be totally different than what it would take to mend another. So yes, mending is like a chameleon. It looks different depending on who it's attached to. So yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that statement.
Oh my goodness, you have a way with words. You just describing and using some of the adjectives. I'm sitting over here like, okay. But it's seriously, that is what it is. And as you talked about, everything that we go through life is really different. So I think that it's very important for people to understand that this whole process, grieving, healing, and mending, are totally different for each person and each experience that you go through.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so let's talk about restoration, right? So another part of your writing, you talk about and you've referenced Ecclesiastics. I don't know why I'm having a trouble saying that, but that's my verse, right? Ecclesiastics 3:1. And
right.
You went further to, like, you explain how God restores us. So can you provide an overview of what you were trying to convey in that writing?
Yes. And what I would like to do is for the people who may not have had a chance to read that part of the book or haven't read the book yet. I'm saying yet because everybody needs to get the book and read it.
Right.
But for those who may not have read it yet, I want to read that and then come back and comment. So the word of God in Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "There is a season and a time to every purpose under the heavens. What we know about seasons is as one ends, another begins. The change in seasons is marked by drastic changes in the atmosphere. A tree once full of vibrant, colorful leaves in the spring becomes barren during the winter. A flower that flourishes during the summer begins to wither in the fall. What we also know about seasons is that in time, the leaves will return to the tree and the flowers will bloom again. God restores the leaves and the blooms because the tree and the flower were created to serve a purpose. Suffering a loss can create drastic changes in our lives that cause enormous pain and a feeling of emptiness. But if we let Him, just as He does with the tree and the flower, God will restore us so that we can live out our purpose.
Right.
After loss and in time, we must decide how we will honor God and our loved ones with our lives. We live on as vessels to share their stories and to give life to their legacy. We share our testimonies and lessons to comfort those who are passing through the same valley we were just delivered from. So I hope what was conveyed through what I wrote was that we're still here. And because we're still here on earth, we have work to do. And just like the porcelain cup, even though we won't ever be the same again after a certain type of loss, and it's okay to admit that. It's okay to admit that, we want to heal, but we may not ever completely heal in that place, so it's okay to admit that. But we can still be used, just like the cup, as a vessel to fulfill the purpose that we were originally intended.
Right. That's
So
it. That's it.
I hope that's what was conveyed through what was written.
Yeah, yeah, and very powerful because a lot of people quote Ecclesiastics, right? A lot of
Yes.
people speak upon various places, and sometimes don't have a full understanding of what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like how you broke that down from a standpoint, even using the analogy of a tree. We can relate to that, right? And when we put ourselves in that position as we're reading it as a tree, like just doing that and understanding the various things that we go through, the growth in our lives, the things that make us know that there's still work for us to do. There's still things that God has for us to do in our lives. And every now and then, people will get that motivation or inspiration, sometimes at the beginning of the year, other times at different phases in their life, where they just get excited and something motivates them and they're like, I'm getting ready to do this, I'm going to do this, so I love it when my clients come or they'll call, we'll work on something, finish up one part of it, then they'll come back, I'm ready. Like that excitement, I love that, and it's understanding and knowing that God still has something for you, and He will give you that nudge to help you keep on going and keep on going. So love that.
And the tree, when you think about it, in the winters of its life, it loses, the leaves that were there to provide shade, but that doesn't mean that tree doesn't still have purpose, and that when those leaves come back again, it will be able to do exactly what it was purposed to do in the first place.
So I know, like last week I got deep in the conversation and I'm trying to keep it like steady, but I'm telling you, like what you just said, talking about the trees, right? And the leaves are for shade. They don't need shade in the wintertime. They need the shade in the summertime for
Come
the
on
heat,
now.
right? So let's move on. But I feel you. Tell Pastor and you, one of y'all can preach that sermon, because that's a whole sermon. I'm so serious. When you said that, I was like, don't say nothing. Move to the next question. Move to the next question.
Come on now.
But I just had to say that. So transitioning to the next scripture, right? Isaiah 43:19. Title, a new thing. So this was the title of your church's women's conference.
Yes.
Why? What was the inspiration behind you selecting this topic and theme for your church for this year?
First of all, let me tell everyone that you came, you spoke, and you blew it out the park. So let's start with that. Let's start with that. Let's start with how much you inspired everyone who was there to listen. So let's start there. But when the women officers and I met earlier this year to discuss the conference, we chose this scripture because it aligned with our church theme. And I read the scripture over and over again. And what stood out to me was God saying, see, I am doing a new thing. And in that passage, he's speaking to his people, telling them to forget the hardship, forget the bondage that they were in, and forget the past, because he's doing a new thing for him. He's encouraging them to look toward the future and to look toward the hope that lies in the coming of Christ. So when we started planning, it was just at the beginning as we were entering the second year of the pandemic. So I wanted the message to reflect hope and a shifting toward the future. And also when I think about new as it pertains to the word, God resides in new. If he tells you to do something, if he sends you someplace, if he wants you to start a new business or a new relationship, a new job, whatever it is, he resides in new. So he's going to meet you there. If he tells you to do something, he's not going to tell you to do it without him being there first. So new to me is a gift from God. He resides there, and new allows us the opportunity to start over and over again. So when I heard that new thing, that's what I think about. I think about, what is that new thing? And we have to determine that ourselves. We have to figure out what is that new thing for us. But just the word new, and it's used so many times in the Bible, allows us the opportunity to start over again.
Yes, yes. And it was both of the verses together, right? Because yes, it's that new thing, that new thing, that new thing, that new thing. But it was in the wilderness for me. It was in the wilderness. It is like God, yes, the new thing. Everybody knows about the new thing. Everybody quotes that scripture. But it is like one of the things that I often try to really do is those popular scriptures that people say and know by heart. I try to go back a little bit further and then fast forward a little bit so I can make sure that when I'm getting it into the correct context, and I'm also getting everything that was written out of it. So I love the new thing, right? I love the new thing, but it was in the wilderness for me. It was in the mid. It doesn't matter what you're going through. In your worst time, if God give you an assignment, it's your assignment. It's your assignment. You don't even know. I was in Cancun when I did that. I almost tore the whole building and everything up. But I tell you what, it blessed me. It blessed me. So here's the thing. Like I didn't tell you, but I was going to. It was going in a whole different direction. A whole different direction. That morning I got up. And it was like, I said, God, please don't do this. Because I normally just write an acronym with major words and speak from that. This was the first time that I ever typed out a whole speech. And I did it like 2 hours before it started. And what I did was I put it on my screen because I was like, I don't know what the internet connection is going to do. Or anything at all. I was supposed to be back home. I extended my trip. So I was like, we're going to make this
I remember that
thing
part.
work. But when I tell you, God will give you the words that you need right when you need it. Like, I kid you not, it blessed me. Like, it blessed me so much too. And it's just like understanding that no matter what you go through, no matter what you're in the middle of, no matter what your past is, like if God has an assignment for you, it is for you. And it's no way that it can fail. Like even if you keep messing up, He's going to find a way to push you back up. Even if you keep messing up, like your life is already orchestrated and designed. So we might as well be obedient and get with it, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
And like you said, going back to the wilderness, taking you through the wilderness, because I think, when I looked it up, it was described as, making a path where there is no path. So taking you through the wilderness, and then the streams in the desert, creating streams in the desert, which, even that, you think about how profound that is when He's saying He will provide streams in the desert. So that just means that, no matter what, like you just said, He's going to make a way. He's going to make a way.
Yeah. So let's take this one question before more question before we go to break, right? So our faith keeps us strong. We know that.
Hmm.
It does not prevent us from going through things. We all are going to go through trials. We all are going to experience pain. But as we experience a season of missing loved ones and heartbreak, how do we mend our broken hearts? How do we mend our broken hearts?
And that is also, it's difficult because again, everybody's, situation is the same. But if I had to speak to this, I would say we mend our broken hearts with fond memories, continuing traditions or creating traditions in honor of our loved ones, by supporting someone else who's going through the same thing that you went through. It's important that people know that we are not crawling through this valley alone, that we have people there to support us. So I think that when you're on that giving end, um, there's something in that. There's something in being able to support somebody else, and so those are the just on the surface what I would say. But like we've said before, there is no one formula or one piece of advice that we could give, because everybody's different and everybody will have to heal in their own way.
Yeah, yep. I agree with you. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to commercial. On the flip side, I'm going to share some things in terms of my personal things that I did, just going down the list of them. And then we're going to talk about giving yourself permission to live again. That is
Hmm.
powerful. So give some thought to that. And we're going to go to commercial. And I'll see you soon.
Are you interested in real estate investing but not quite sure where to get started? Do you want to get the know-hows on creating ongoing passive income using the buy and hold strategy? Hi, I'm Janice Bowles, licensed realtor and co-founder of B Premier Ventures, a real estate development and consulting firm where we buy and beautify distressed real estate, renovate it, and resell for profit. With over 15 years of investing experience, B Premier has extensive knowledge in rural land development, fixing flips, and rental acquisitions. B Premier's current portfolio consists of properties within Florida and Virginia. Our firm's services includes investor project consulting, project management, and group coaching. For more information, visit our website at bpremierventures.com and schedule a complimentary discovery session, or subscribe to our email list. It's free. Follow me on Instagram at Janice Bowles for additional real estate investing tips. B Premier Ventures, we buy and beautify.
Hey, 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 welcome back, welcome back. So, first, please make sure, if you're not already doing so, please follow us on social media. We are Let's Do It Talk Show on all social media platforms. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Let's Do It Talk Show. Again, all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, as well as please subscribe to our YouTube channel. So, this whole season has been full of books, 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 books. So, as I mentioned, this is definitely a time where people are going through a grievance season. So, if you have not already purchased, We All Grieve Differently. It is on sale at Amazon. So, if you're interested in getting that, want to get it for someone, you can order it from Amazon. I don't know how long it's going to be on sale. It's an Amazon sale, but please make sure that you get that timely book. It's perfect for right now for someone who is in the midst or going through the process of grieving. And then I am so excited, you all, about my journal project. So, as I mentioned last week, it was going to be titled We All Grieve Differently, the journal, because it is a companion to the grief journal. However, as I mentioned last week, in discussions with my good friend Reverend Rice, she was talking to me and she didn't realize, but she was speaking to me, and I ended up months later changing the title of the journal. So the journal is finished, it is complete. So I am in the midst of pre-launching, and I purposely did that today on my mother's birthday as a gift to her. And right now, if you go to my website, you will be able to purchase it for $20. The actual price of it is $27. It is a 300 plus page journal where it's really going to take you through activities and give you a whole plethora of things. As you can see, the flyer is up. I'm pre-launching it, doing pre-sales December the 6th through the 13th. And then for the show, it's going to be a virtual and in-person type of book discussion. So we're going to go in and have a heartfelt discussion about the book. And as you can see, it's a self-paced healing journal with prompts to guide, encourage, and support you as you're going through your process. When I tell y'all, it's packed with so many different things that will really help you. And just looking at, glancing at the table of contents, in the beginning, of course, I do my whole heartfelt note. There is a user guide, and it is to give you tips around it, but it is for you to customize it however you want. There are rules of engagement. And then we go through each, there's a section for grief, very quick in terms of a toolbox. And there's a section, the whole book is about healing. So there are prompts where you can write out your feelings, express your feelings on a daily basis. But all throughout the book, there are quotes. And as I mentioned last week, there will be many from people that I know, my personal friends, and then there are also ones that you will recognize as famous ones. The Mending toolkits, there are activities, different things to really help you to go through the process. And again, it's 300 plus pages, but you go at your pace. Just like we all grieve differently, I wholeheartedly believe, and as all of my guests have spoken up into today as a 3-part series, that we all grieve differently, heal differently, and as you're hearing today, we all mend differently. And then last but not least, and I shared last week, I have an upcoming project, Empowered to Win. And in that project, Allison Daniels is the visionary. That comes out in January. And with that one, I actually transparently talk about my battle with anxiety and how I overcame or overcoming this. So shout out to Allison and all of the other co-authors that are in that book project. And huge shout out to everyone who's joining on the line. Dr. Jennifer Jones Bryant, hey, Pamela Hayes, Reese Young, Marcella Stretch. If you don't type a comment in the comment box, chat box, then I can't see who else is on. But I appreciate each and every one of you. So, Co-Pastor Davida, jumping back into the conversation. So we were talking about how do people mend their broken heart. So I don't want to go into these all into detail. If I'm done, you may certainly like piggyback and talk about any one of them that you wish. But in the book, I write a piece, what I call healthy healing activities. And with this, I'll outline the things that helped me along the way that I actually did. So I'm just going to read the headers for them, but it goes into detail of what I did to help people get an idea if it's something that they're interested in. But there are 10 things. And they were basically ways to pay tribute to either my mom or my sister. Number 1, prayer and meditation in YouVersion. and I know I keep on being about, I'm not going to go into each one of them. The second one is a volunteer. Volunteer, like we did at Martha's Table and planning to continue to do. Donate monetary to your loved one's charity. Write, like I've been writing. Wrote a book, wrote a journal, writing in another book. Um, Journal. I have been doing this since I was a child, but I talk about it extensively. Write a poem. Goes back to the loss of my childhood friend. Keepsakes, like keeping various things. Like I have a pair of my mom's pajamas. I have a jacket and a T-shirt from my sister, and the face mask that we wore at her ceremony. Balloon release. We did balloon release last year for my mommy and my sister's birthday, and create a memorial. So one of my guest rooms turned it into a prayer room, and photos, gathering various pictures and different things. So I go into detail about these in the book, but just wanted to go out in terms of the list. A lot of people go through, it's a tough time, right? It's a tough time. And there's no other way to say that it is really challenging to go through this. But I really honestly went the whole Christian way and really depended on God and really surrendered to God, and going through like various classes and various things, I learned to like whatever, like the serenity prayer. Mm-hmm. God grant me the serenity. It's certain things we just are not able to control and won't be able to control. And when we're not able to do that, we put it in God's hand. And when we change our mindset to focus on healing and getting ourselves together, then that's how things end up turning around. And I'm still in awe, and I'm still grateful for God's grace. Lord have mercy that He has favored me with. I'm so grateful for, but I also understand the importance of really and truly depending upon God. So I know I just purposely meant to go over the list, but any thoughts of any other items or anything else that you want to share, anything that you have done to help with mending?
I know last week we talked about a toolkit, and in my toolkit of mending and healing is the Word of God, because He is a mender, a fixer, a healer. And you just said something that I had actually meditated on, which was talking about how about the hurt. I think that's what you just said, but for me, I think His Word bridges the gap between hurt and whole. Because sometimes, we're in a place where we don't know what to do or can't figure out, how to get from, the hurt to the first steps, toward healing or toward mending. And I would submit to everyone that, the Word of God can bridge that gap, between being hurt and being whole, or being broken and being whole. Mm-hmm. So the list that I wrote down everything you said, and I agree with all of that. And, I think I would add to the list, starting a foundation in your loved one's name, a scholarship, things like that you can do to honor their memory.
Yes. And when you said that, it made me like think of the actual graphic that's on my book cover. That was probably the hardest part of this project. I needed a book cover to resonate with me and to express what was in the contents of the book. It's a huge journal. And I finally had saw this graphic, and the graphic artist was like, "Oh, you're going to have to pay more for that." And I was like, this is what I need. But what you said in terms of the gap, so it's a heart that's broken, but it has the thread that's bringing it together. So when you talk about that gap, so we're going to go through heartaches and we're going to go through pain, but when we allow God to be that bridge to mend us, to fix it, then that's where we go. That's where we go. I promise that we are not going to have church up in here. Like, y'all been trying to get me to go there for the past couple of weeks, and we're not going to do that. But that was deep. That was deep, and I felt that. I
We
really
can't
do.
do it by ourselves. There's no way. There's no way.
No. And so when we face a loss, it's all right to grieve. And we talked about this for as long as you need to. But and I love how Reverend Rice always talks about the danger of getting stuck and
Mm-hmm.
being careful not to get stuck. Um,
Right.
so we talked about it last week, but in a different way. I think that people may get stuck because of guilt. When I talked about guilt last week, that was a word that I couldn't come up to describe the grace that God has granted me, and because it awed me, never being faced with this, don't know how to, it's a child is accepting it because it's so it's like a miracle to me. But with that guilt on the opposite way in the true intent of the word, in terms of people going through a process and feeling guilty because they are still alive and their loved one is no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that that people deal with. Did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to digest, but we all have an allotted time and an amount on this earth, which we can't control. And
Right.
even knowing that doesn't make it any easier to deal with for those of us who are left behind. And so we often experience survivor's remorse. But I believe that even though our loved ones aren't here physically, the love that we share with them is forever. And
That's
so
right.
all the love they have for us when they were here doesn't leave with them, it stays in our hearts. So, because they loved us, I believe that they wouldn't want us to feel guilty, and they definitely wouldn't want us to spend the rest of our days in despair. They would
Right.
want us to continue the journey that we started with them. So, and I think we talked about that on another show, and I think I shared with you how I felt guilty about not stopping at my aunt's house, on
Right.
my way home from work one day, and the something told me to stop, and I
Right.
didn't stop, and then shortly thereafter she passed away. So I felt guilt,
Yeah.
for not stopping, but it's not something that we can hold on to.
Yes.
We have to learn to move forward, and I don't think that she would want me to feel guilty. She would want me to continue on with my life and with my journey. So
Yeah.
it is something that we do experience, but we just have to learn not to stay there.
Yes. And it's the flip side of things. I like our loved ones 9 times out of 10. I don't know. It might be some sticky situation, but our loved ones don't want us to go through that, and that's what like I was just telling the engineers. Like I am like I need to calm down. I'm overly hyped today. Like couldn't even get ecclesiastics out, but I'm overly like hyped today. But it's because I feel my mother all day today, all
Mm,
going in and out, running around, doing everything I need to do. Like I felt my mother. And the one moment when I was leaving Martha's Vineyard, my daughters was going somewhere separately, and I was like, oh my goodness, my playlist was on, and I was like, oh my goodness. And to me, because of you, that was the song for your event, and I was like, oh my God, I thought you was gonna play after, but that song does something for me. I felt my mother
mm,
saying and comforting me, saying, "Girl, live up, celebrate on my birthday. Like,
right,
get yourself together." And it was
right,
a
right.
slight
She would
moment.
want you to do what you did when she was here.
Yes, yes, and
Celebrate her.
yes. And so I was like, let me turn up for my mother. Even at Martha's table, my girls and I had a ball. The music,
Mm,
the playing, the different clothes, the shopping for it. We were like, no, like, because we had the person name, and I'm just saying if the person name was Deborah. We had their size and all their information, so we go shopping through this stuff, and it's really nice stuff. And we were like, I don't know if Deborah would really like that. And we were matching up stuff because they get to go. Oh my God, we had a ball. The music was playing. We were dancing. They were letting us do like pretty much whatever we wanted to do. And it was like a little mini turn up. So all day today, I've been hyped, very hyped.
and
Like,
she would want that. She would want that.
yeah, I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it.
Yes.
So give yourself permission to live again.
Mm,
Woo! When Reverend Smith said that, immediately after, and I couldn't tell whether you were saying it at the same time or whether she said, I don't know how it went, but I heard her and then I looked and it was like already written there. But in terms of that whole phrase, give yourself permission to live again, that was super powerful, super powerful. And when I saw it in the chat, it made me further think about it. You know how like when you read something or you feel something, whether it's a sermon, you go, I was like, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, like I'm on air, let me get it together. But when you heard that or either wrote it when she wrote it, again, I don't know the order that it went in, but that phrase, like, what does it mean for you?
Well, it's funny because she said that and it shocked me because I had just said those very same words to somebody that I had spoken with on that Saturday prior to. So, and when I say the exact same words, the exact same words. So when she said it, it was like, a shock went through my body because I was like, oh my gosh, I literally just said that to somebody on Saturday. So to me, giving yourself permission to live again, it means that when God wakes us up in the morning, we have to make a decision about what we're going to do with the rest of that day.
Yep.
And so we have to choose to put one foot in front of the other. And when we're grieving, that's hard, because when you're grieving, you're living second by second, minute by minute. You're making decisions, each second to live and to carry on. And I choose my word carefully there. I like to say carry on. And I say that because, oftentimes you hear people saying move on, but moving on implies that we're leaving somebody behind.
Exactly.
Carrying on allows us to continue the journey that we started together.
Yes.
So because they would give us permission to continue living, I believe that we have to then give ourselves that same permission to continue living, just like we were just talking about your mom. She would want you to turn up on her birthday. So, that's what we need to do. We need to continue to live and to honor their memory by, choosing to live this life that we've been given and to live it to the best of our ability while we are still here. And that, I believe, would honor them. And so that's what I feel when I hear that, or when I'm saying that to someone. Give yourself permission to live, because they would do the same for you. And if the shoe were on the other foot, if I wasn't here, I would want my family to continue to live, to continue the journey, to continue to be happy, to find joy in life. So I would want to give them permission to live again. And so I believe that that's what they want for us, and that's what we should do.
Yeah, that statement was extremely powerful, and I mean that like with everything. It like when Reverend Smith said it, I was like, okay. And when you said it, you wrote it, and that's what you wrote, that you had just said it. That's why I was like, I couldn't remember. But powerful, because people get stuck, so many different things happen, and people don't want to carry on, right? They feel like a guilty aspect of it, and like they don't focus on the part of their loved ones definitely not wanting them to be that way, and then aside from your loved one, God, God. And I'm not saying that when we grieve for a long time that we don't trust God. I'm not saying that at all, but it's like we forfeit what God has for us. You know what I mean? Like we forfeit what God has for us. And I think that was one of the things that really helped me along this pathway. It was even going to the old song, the old hymn, "Oh, what a forfeit," and what a friend we have in Jesus. And going through that process, even beforehand, because I know He prepared me before that, but it was lean on God. Lean on God. God promised you this. God said He would do this. Lean on God. Do you trust Him? These are things that I was going in, and as I mentioned last week and the week before, I stayed in the Word. I stayed listening to spiritual songs. I stayed watching sermons, and I stayed actually in the Word. And it was like every angle that I turned, if it was any piece of doubt or any area that I was struggling with, it would be a word to address that. Even from last week to this week, when I speechless. I never get speechless, but I was speechless trying to define and trying to come up and capture a word to describe how I was feeling, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when Reverend Rice said, that's grace. Why everything I went through, like, I rewatched the sermons at my church, T.D. Jakes, and it was not only him, but it was Carolyn Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
She's very popular, and I've heard her and seen her before. But a message that she preached about, and then it was someone that I never had seen before. Was teaching Bible study at the Potter's house. Everything that I was struggling with, they were going. So when it came time for my session with my therapist, I was like, "Hi." She was like, "You go," and I was like, I didn't want to cancel the appointment, like a couple hours before or a day before, but I'm good. And she was
Mm.
like, "Mm, okay." And I was like, yeah. So I said, if you have something that you want to share, we can share, but why don't you enjoy the rest of your day? And she was looking like, okay, so do we keep our, I said, yes, keep our next appointment because I don't know what's going to happen in between, but I'm
Right.
good for this session. So she was like, okay. But that's what happened. People all along the way helped me. And that was a serious struggle that I had. Like, of course, you could tell because I got caught up in my words. But yeah, yeah, yeah. So, being a co-pastor, right, with your
Mm-hmm.
husband, that's my buddy. Like, tell him I said, what's up? But
I know.
being
Look, you're
in
his buddy too.
that's from I'm telling you from when we first met, we immediately bonded.
Oh
But
yeah.
going through the pandemic, right? You two
Mm-hmm.
co-pastor in this church, and one of the things that from personal matters we learn to be resilient, right? We learn to press our way through various things. But like you, in terms of the whole pandemic and it changing the whole aspect, what you do for your congregation is you help them. You help support them. So how has the new way of life, this new way dealing with the pandemic, the new way, how has it impacted your ability to serve your congregation?
It hasn't affected our ability to serve the congregation. Now, physically, we can't hug each other or, see each other sometimes, touch each other. But I'm going to tell you something. God is amazing and
Yes.
always provides a ram in the bush. So when, we got word that we had to close the doors of the church
Mhm.
because, when the pandemic started, we had already been doing things on Zoom anyway. So for us, it was, and I'm going to use the same word that everybody's used for the last 2 years, which I'm almost tired of hearing, but I'm saying it anyway. We were in a place to pivot
Right.
into, having church fully online, even with Pastor doing, funerals and things like that. He, still counsels people via Zoom or via phone. So,
Mhm.
being able to serve has not been impacted at all. It's just different. It's
Different.
it's just different. So we've had to adjust to what people refer to as the new normal, but we've still been able to still meet people where they are. We've still continued with our volunteer efforts, and
Yeah.
so for us, the only change is not having a building and just not being able to be with people physically. And of course, with the loss over the last couple years, that's been difficult to deal with. And because I think, he's done more funerals in the last couple years than, previously, but, being able to serve has not been impacted in that way. We've just had to shift.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's perfect. And I love that because a lot of people had gotten into a point where they were stuck. I know we've been using stuck, or it took them a minute. Like they were really frozen and didn't know how to pivot. And it took them a minute. And I'm not going to say wasted a lot of time because regardless of how things went, I think that time is never wasted. Like
Right.
you will learn from your lesson. If it was something where you sat idle, you will learn from your lesson, hopefully, along the way. So don't want to say time wasted. But I know, like in hindsight, they are thinking of the various things that they could have been doing during this time. I have like seen some wonderful things happening to everyday people, right? The celebrities, they started doing their virtual shows and different things like that, but a lot of them were like free or just taking donations or what have you. But like from everyday, ordinary people, I was amazed at some of the things that were happening. And
Right.
it is when we put our mind we can to it we can do anything at all at anything that we want to do. It's nothing like outside of our reach, and I wholeheartedly sincerely believe that. I love like the books that have come out. People have birth books. The school people have gone back to school taking virtual classes. People
Right.
have started businesses um, that didn't even have businesses, and then people have pivoted their businesses. Churches, I love that you all have continued. My church has continued online. We haven't been back in the building since. We were supposed to go back September or October, September. I don't even remember. We didn't go back, and then we're supposed to go back January. But then this whole new thing coming across, like you just don't know what it is going to be. So
Right.
pivoting was good. But can I say one thing to you and your entire church family? Like, oh my God, y'all really like had me covered. Y'all
Mm.
prayed for me, prayed
Oh yeah.
with me. When I joined you all in Zoom with the book studies or any event that you all have, you made me feel welcome. You know, I have a thing with talking and voicing my opinion. So when I'm on, I would try to shy back, but then something would hit me and I would say it. I felt so comfortable with you all, and I really, really, really love you all. So thank you for being there with me like through all the times and just being there to encourage me, to pray for me, everything. I really sincerely like love y'all, so I appreciate y'all a whole lot.
We love you too, and you know you are family, and I thank you for doing the same, for supporting us, for praying for us, for coming alongside of us. And know you know you're a part of your own ministry, but found it not robbery to join our book club and to come to some of our services and to speak this year at our conference. So we definitely appreciate you and love you too, and love this platform. Just what you've done to provide hope and encouragement for people through your topics and subjects. So kudos to you.
Thank you. All for God's glory. All for God's glory. So I have
Yes.
one more question, and so it relates to encouragement. So one of the things that I want to kind of like shift to my book a little bit before I ask you the final question. So one of the things with my book project, along the way, like I just started buying candles from Bath and Body Works. One of the things, so I've been sharing a lot about myself. I was allergic to all types of scents until like 4 years ago, 3 years ago or so. So I couldn't everybody had their flavors and their scents for Bath and Body Works. A long time ago, I had cucumber melon, but it smelled so good, but it used to have me itching so bad that I just stopped, right? And so I hadn't been able to utilize them. And then they had like this annual sale or something. I didn't know about it, but my
ten
girls
dollars
were
and
like,
25 cents on December 3rd
"Oh, okay, my girl."
for 3 wick candles.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
proceed.
so yeah, so with that, I started getting my scents, and then but they would go away. Like I didn't who retire scents. So once I get attracted to one, it would go. Anyway, my point, I don't know why they do that, but the point that I'm trying to make, candles. So I got addicted to candles. And I love a really good smelling candle, have them all throughout my house. So the candles brought me peace. It was certain candles that I got that will bring me peace. So along with the cars, along with the flowers. So with the book project, we all heal differently. I have a set of candles. I have a set of candles that they represent like every phase of grief, but I flipped it. Instead of like having a negative term, it's a positive term to it. And
Mm.
those are for the smaller candles. And then I have a larger regular 8 ounce candle. And I'll finish uploading them online, but with those, they have positive affirmations and various things. So thank you, engineers. They're showing them displaying here. But I have a young lady who makes the candles, and I worked with her to customize the scents, work with her with the labels and the different coverings, and we're still working on the boxing for those who want to pay for boxing with the gift. But we'll have like some exclusive ones with the gold top and the gold labeling. So, oh my God, when I was choosing the scents, what I did was I chose them to represent like what I was feeling. I was like, God, I need like to feel some healing. I need to feel peace. So they have
Mm.
all positive words, and then what it does is they align with the words are in the book, so they spread it throughout the book. So whatever page you, it's real good. I know it was like made for me and all the things that I really went through, but it is
Mm.
going to bless people some kind of good. But I was saying that to say like candles brought me encouragement. Candles brought me encouragement. So what are some of the things that someone who wants to mend could do to support others and provide encouragement to themselves while on the mend?
Well, that was one of the things I was going to say was to support someone else. Supporting someone else, I know for me brings me peace, brings me joy. I am a candle person as well. So I love, candles. I love, reading, listening to music, anything that calms your spirit or calms your soul. I know some people like to meditate or do things like that. So I would say anything that calms your spirit, anything that brings you a sense of peace would be what I would recommend or what I would say that you could do to, to bring peace to yourself. But definitely supporting other people and doing things for other people for sure brings me joy.
Yes, yes,
And do
definitely.
something you've never done before. If I keep talking to my mom about taking ballet classes because I used to take ballet classes, and I was like, you know what, I just want to take a ballet class. So do something that you've never done before, and it's never too late to do those things.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And speaking of supporting people, Marcella Stretch is on the line, and I don't know whether she shared on social media because I really have only jumped on to post, but she was she had openly mentioned that she was dealing with something with her brother on the previous show she was commenting in, and she reached out to me, and I had been praying with her, and unfortunately her brother transitioned this weekend. So please lift her up in prayer. And Marcella, I'll definitely keep you lifted up in prayer. And like I said, reach out to me. But like supporting other people, this thing, grief hasn't been my thing, but it makes me feel good. And being able to support them in general, right? Because
Right.
they're my friends, but also to be able to let them know that God is able. Like God is able, not forcing them to go at a pace that I went, but God is able. Like He will see you through. Dr. Jennifer is on too. She was going through something. She reached out. We prayed together. I was praying for her, and it's just that message of God is able. So thank you so much for being a guest on my show and for
Thank
tuning
you.
in every week. I appreciate you. Can you provide your social media, any information, contact information where the viewers can reach you?
Facebook, of course, and it's just my name. Well, I think it's Davida Stewart on Facebook. Instagram is DLGS19. The church website is welovebocc.org, so we can be reached there as well. And before we close out, I just want to say one thing to, I know you said that there are people on here who are, who've suffered loss, and
Yes.
who may be feeling some type of way. But I remember something that my mom said one time, and she said that, you never get over it. You just learn to live with it. So it's important for people to understand, that it's okay for it to take time. It's okay to grieve in your own way. No, like we said earlier, no two people are the same. So, we shouldn't put pressure on ourselves to do things just because somebody else wants us to do it. So I think that's important for people to know, just not to put pressure on yourself. You'll begin to heal and mend in your own way and in time. Give yourself some time.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, again, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You guys, we have come to the end of the show and the end of the series. So, I have really been blessed through this series. It's something that we do annually, but to add on the piece of mending, because I think that's overly important as well. And the timing of it has blessed me throughout. So please again follow us on social media if you're not already doing so. Our upcoming shows and the theme for December is looking back to move forward. So today, that a new thing, the money making gurus will be on next Monday, and I just want to again thank you to everyone who reached out to me about my mother. But of course, didn't want to say it all at the beginning, but this show is definitely dedicated to my mom. Today was all about her. I felt her presence. I know that she's looking down and watching over me. If you all are dealing with the loss of a loved one, please make sure that you reach out to someone. Um, and thank you everyone for joining. And mommy, happy heavenly birthday, and I love you. Out.